All right, here we go again. The Crave Show. If you want to waste a perfectly good hour hanging out with me and JRuss, this is the way to do it. All right, so we're back again. JRuss, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too. How's your week been going? Or a couple weeks since we recorded. How's everything been going?
It's been going well. I mean, some interesting philosophical things. Steph and I invested with a friend in a property down near Four Corners, kind of like if you know that, where four states meet.
Yeah.
Just we like to rehab places, and this one was in need of rehab. It had a half a mile of water pipe that we had to lay a trench to get water to the house. And the whole point of that is, if you don't shower for a week, warm water inside your house is miraculous. And so we got the water line connected, and all we had was cold water. There's no plumbing in the house or anything. But we put in a yard hydrant, if you're familiar with that.
Put in a what?
It looks like kind of a pump. It's called a yard hydrant. It looks like a hand pump, but you just open it and the water flows.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what
Yeah. So I hooked a hose up to that and had a freezing cold shower, but after 6 days of not showering, it was still pretty nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to start off this week. I want to bring up a comment that somebody left from the last episode that we recorded, and I thought it was really a really good point that he made. We were talking about. You remember we were talking about seatbelts last time.
Yeah.
And I think we had a pretty good discussion. I enjoyed it, but he brought up the fact, he was making the point, which I was really thankful for, that whenever he takes his seatbelt off in the plane, he always tries to keep it like he's particular and specific, intentional about where he puts it, just in the off chance. And he said this himself in his comment, and I know that it's rare that you would ever have to put your seatbelt back on. I mean, that is a rare occurrence that you would need to do that. But if that happens, his point was, hey, when you take your seatbelt off, don't just throw it around or get rid of it or stuff it back behind the bench or whatever, but take it off with intentionality, put both pieces somewhere where you know where they're at, so that if you are in a hurry to get buckled back up, everybody knows where theirs is. Because if everybody just takes them off and stuffs them around, and then there's an issue, a problem, and the pilot's like, buckle up, we're going down, and you're not getting out, and everybody's scrambling to get their seatbelts, then that could be problematic, right? Because now you're fighting over seatbelts. You don't know whose is whose. Yours got lost. They're all tangled up again. So I thought that was really, a very small thing, simple to do. I'm guessing you probably saw that comment too. Did you have any thoughts on it?
I did see it, and I guess, I mean, that is a no-cost benefit to you, I think. I mean, there's just, as long as you're being mindful about it, there's just no reason not to do it. It doesn't hurt anything. I've been in 6 or 7, I can't remember, aircraft emergencies. None of them were like a pilot turns around and says, get out of the airplane. They were all not, I can't say mellow, but they weren't, no catastrophe was happening. The engine wasn't on fire. I think they were all twin engines, and we lost one engine. So I don't want to discount what Pooh's saying, because it is a good comment. I just I think sometimes when people think about aircraft emergencies, that their minds tends to wander towards the wing fell off the plane or something, and not that can't happen, but I've had quite a few jumps, and it probably, I don't know, more aircraft emergencies than most people, and it's been calmer than you probably expect.
Yeah. I've never. I mean, I've ridden the plane down, but it was because of winds picked, nothing dangerous. It was just like, hey, clouds rolled in, got super windy down there. We're all riding down, so it's super mellow, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But never an emergency or malfunction, never anything problem with the plane or anything like that. So, but I really appreciated him taking the time to watch the podcast, think about it, and give some thoughtful feedback. That was nice, because that's what Crave is all about. Like, all of us trying to learn from one another, push each other forward, just raise that level of knowledge and understanding, safety awareness, all that stuff.
Yeah, I actually had a friend that I started jumping with I was talking to him last night. I haven't talked to him in a couple of years about something totally unrelated, and he mentioned that he had listened to the podcast, and I said, "Oh, that's great." And he asked me what Crave was about, and so I had to give him my synopsis of what you're doing, or what we're doing.
Yeah.
When you put it into words, it's a pretty. It's just a great idea, and I know I'm a part of it, so I'm biased, but the idea of sort of, I don't know, collecting or conglomerating the knowledge into a place where people can tap into that on a regular basis is pretty cool.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I've continued to think about the amount of knowledge that's represented in the courses that we have so far. Like right now we have 6 courses. Y'all, your course, you and Steph, y'all's course is about to go up here pretty soon. Then we've got a course from Pete Hallam. I mean, just the number of skydives that are represented in the instructors. Did I tell you this? It's like 160,000 skydives.
Yeah, I believe it.
And then if you start calculating like the amount of time, the financial investment, the gear, the amount of knowledge and the value of the knowledge that is represented within just the 13 instructors that we have right now it blows my mind. Like, it's mind-boggling. And that's what it is. I mean, really, it makes me proud and it makes me excited, because that's what we're trying to do, is provide something of extreme value for a very, very reasonable cost to the end user, that they get this knowledge. And that's the saying, for posterity's sake. Like, that's really what I think we're doing this for posterity. Now it's within a limited scope of people, the skydiving community, but I mean, that's our community, that's who we care about, right? Like, I mean, so they're the ones we're trying to provide for.
Yeah, and it's somewhat ambitious, only in the idea, I guess, that it hasn't been tried before, but I mean, the number of times, for instance, that I've gone to a free fly event and had to, hash over the exact same information that no one has ever sort of quantified before, or set down in the stuff that we did on free flying. People can go and listen to that, and it reminds me a little bit too of Melissa Nelson, Rook's older sister, or younger sister, I guess, if you ask her. She put together like an AFF or AFP, depending on your program, a video package, and I can't remember all the places she's done it. 6 or 7 places now where she goes and dresses up as a student, goes their aircraft, their landing zone, their procedures, everything, and they ended up doing it at Scout of Chicago. I think she had done 1 or 2, and then Rook saw it and said, "Hey, let's do that up here." And the AFP, which is their program, those instructors said the students came in ready to teach the class. They were so prepared because they had watched all the videos, and they're broken up similar to the way you did it, in kind of modules and easily digestible bits, and the retention was amazing.
That's
so
awesome.
I think that's really hopeful for this kind of learning technique.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. I want to say one more other thing before because I want to hear about the astronaut training that you were doing just recently. I'm really interested. I'm super curious. But before that, just for anybody that's watching, I don't think we have much of an audience right now in the live recording, but maybe we'll have a few people watch this. Our hope is, JRuss and I have talked about this a lot. Our hope is that we can use this platform of the Crave Show, this video podcast platform, to provide some free coaching to the audience. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about future recordings, you can go to the Crave website, cravetofly.com, and then you click on the link for the show. So it's cravetofly.com/the show, and you'll see a link on there where you can watch the recordings live. And then there's also a link where you can upload a video. We have a Dropbox folder set up where you can upload a video in advance before we record. We'll go through those videos and we will select a few of them to actually use during the show, where we'll pull your video up on the screen We'll let you in from the audience so that we can actually see you, talk with you. We'll have your video. We'll play the video so that we can see it, the audience members can see it, you can see it, and then we'll give you some coaching on that. So, and especially with somebody like JRuss, who's got, a very eclectic amount of knowledge covering lots of different disciplines. If it's exits or canopy flight or angle flying or vertical flying or whatever, and if we don't know, we'll say we don't know. We won't make up something if we don't know the answer, if we don't know how to help you. But that's our hope, is that this can be a way that we can really bless the skydiving community and provide some good information, some good instruction and coaching to help people progress and get better, because that makes us all safer. And shoot, I think it's more fun when we're all better. We get to do more stuff together in the sky, right?
100%. And I mean, if this could incrementally help people, as as we talked about last time, and the way the sport has evolved with something like tunnel flying, and how much better everybody is, and how much better our skydives are because of that, in terms of not only the fun and the being able to complete objectives, but the safety element of it is so much better. So hopefully that can bleed over into what we're doing here.
Yeah. All right. So, astronauts.
Okay. So
how did this? I mean, well, I want to know what happened, but how did you even get involved? Like, I just want to know everything, I guess.
Yeah. Well, just to give a little bit of the backstory. So there's Rook gets a call from this guy. He's like a fighter pilot, but he's in this astronaut program. His name is Sean, but he goes by a call sign of Stroker. That's what his, Maverick. But that's his real life. So anyway, Stroker calls Rook and said, "Hey, we've got astronauts that are part of the SpaceX program, and they wanted to get into skydiving as a way to mentally prepare for stressful situations that might come up during their mission, unexpected scenarios, and dealing with sort of high stress situations." So I think they've been scuba diving and skydiving now, and they have a couple of other endeavors. They're going to try to team build at the same time as mental preparation. They tried a drop zone, I believe, in southern Colorado, and didn't have great success. And in this really kind of roundabout small world thing, the guy that paints the fighter pilot's jet went to high school with Rook, and he is a former skydiver, and he's out at Skydive Chicago. His name's Russ Ellis. And so in the group of 4 people that we jumped with, there's a super wealthy guy. He started a credit card processing company when he was 14. I'd heard that story before, but I didn't know him personally, obviously. But he also had something painted by Russ. And so when he lamented a little bit that we wanted to go skydiving, but it didn't work out, this drop zone scared us, Russ was like, hey, let me put you in touch with Rook and get this done right. And so they started talking, and then Rook messaged us and said, hey, I've got these astronauts that want to learn to skydive. We'd like to go down to Sebastian over these dates. And I really want you guys to come. I kind of sold you guys already, so for me to say you can't come now is kind of going to look like a junk show. So whatever your scheduling is, you need to figure it out. But I need you here. And so
will be here.
Interestingly, it did end up working out and we didn't even have to cancel anything, because the scheduled stuff that we had was training people in the Colorado Springs tunnel that's relatively new, and they punched a couple fan blades off of the fans.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you told me.
So they were down for a few weeks. I think they're starting operation again next couple days, but only at 80%, and they're not ready to fly us anyway. So we couldn't have done the coaching we had anyway. So we fly down there and meet these guys, and we're going to do. They did a program through the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs called the 490 course, where they're basically it's this like an IAD kind of thing, if you remember that program, where they've got a little egg timer on their pack, and they've got 3 seconds, and then 5 seconds, and then blah blah blah, up to 11 or 12 seconds of free fall, and then canopy flight, and they got through those 5 jumps, and then they wanted to get their A license. So we met them in Sebastian, at Skydive Sebastian, and started jumping. So the first night, and I wrote all this down because I was I'll get to it, and hopefully I can get through this without choking up. But they are astronauts, and they are doing astronaut things. But this is the program to colonize Mars, and I didn't know that when we started. And
so wait, this is not through NASA?
No, this is SpaceX.
Wow, that's so
and
cool.
I didn't know that either. And so the first night we finished jumping, and they're like, "Hey, come on over. We're gonna barbecue." And we went over and hung out with them. And in the course of that, after dinner, they gave us. Are you familiar with challenge coins in the military?
No.
Okay, so I worked with the Golden Knights for like 5 years, and in that time, a challenge coin is something that they'll give you if they feel like you've made an effort that's sort of above and beyond, basically. And so my 5 years with the Knights, I mean, if my guys, I was coaching the VFS team, if they were up in the air and somebody needed canopy help, or how can we do this exit, or what, sometimes I packed parachutes because their packers wouldn't show up, or whatever. Just we need to keep these guys jumping, especially this week because I'm out there. And just a couple of times over the years, maybe 6 total, 7, I would get this challenge coin, and it's like almost like a poker chip, but it's got the Golden Knights, and there's all kinds of challenge coins. It's not just the Golden Knights. Probably every branch of the military has them. And I don't want to say this the wrong way, but I was happy that I got it, but at the same time, it just sort of felt like normal day for me as far as just we have a goal and let's get to it. Mm-hmm. So after dinner, the astronaut crew pulls out a patch and a challenge coin and gives one of them to each of us. And Chris, I got to be honest, I mean, I've got a couple challenge coins in my backpack that I've been carrying around for years. I felt like freaking Gollum, like this is my precious. And I'm just standing there just thunderstruck, staring at this thing and rubbing my thumb over it because they just explained, and I wrote it all down in case you want to hear it, but all this symbology that's depicted here as well is incredible. You want to hear it?
Yeah, I want to hear it. Dude,
okay.
Show me the coin. Hold the coin up a little bit better so we can see it.
So the coin is here.
Okay.
And again, it's kind of like a poker chip, but
yeah.
And then
is it metal?
It is metal. Yep.
And
there's
it's
more on the
in
back.
Some kind of ceramic or something.
I don't know exactly. I have to like not hold it in my hand or I'm gonna rub it raw. I swear. So it's basically the same thing up here, except not the. I'll explain the back in a second. So we actually videotaped this woman that was explaining it all, and so I'm gonna recall what I can. I wrote it down from the video. Okay. So there's the astronaut, of course, the faceplate.
Yeah.
Then there's an astronaut outside of the capsule.
Okay.
That is homage to the first spacewalk. So this is representative of a spacesuit, obviously, but apparently SpaceX is working with this program because the NASA spacesuits were like billion-dollar suits, literally, and they wanted to make a suit that, I mean, it's not going to be free, but it's going to be more accessible than $1 billion. And not only that, but apparently all of the NASA astronauts, after they wore those suits, they had to get shoulder reconstruction on both shoulders because it was so hard to function in that suit. And so this is going to be something more like maybe you saw in that Matt Damon movie, where he was on Mars. You know what I'm talking about.
That's well, so it sounds. I mean, they could have just done high flights for a few years and done the same thing to their shoulders.
Oh yeah. I don't think they don't want to wait a few years. Their launch is in like September.
No, I'm saying destroy.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the new suit tech. Then, let's see. They are going for the highest Earth orbit ever, and so that blue line is supposed to be the 1,400 kilometers above the Earth.
Okay.
One of their major objectives is a new space-based technology, and so this little like flag-looking thing coming out, that's actually a communication representation, and it's using Starlink. It has laser-based technology in space. Also cool. So the stars that you see in the sky, those are each one represents one of the Gemini astronauts, which they were the Gemini missions were the transition from Mercury missions to the Apollo mission. So it was sort of the pathway going from these previous space missions to push the tech forward. Let's get on the moon. And this Polaris program is the transition from the Dragon, which is the craft they're taking up, to the Starship, which you very publicly crashed a couple weeks ago, right, when a couple of the engines went out. And but that is the next thing.
There wasn't anybody on that, was there?
No, and they I think they kind of expected it to go down. But that Starship, right now that 4 people can go into space on this the craft that we use, this Dragon. Starship takes 150.
Wow.
And so this Polaris program is meant to be the bridge that goes from previous space missions to put us on Mars. And so and then the 4-leaf clover kind of over here in the corner apparently goes on every SpaceX patch ever. And then the only thing that's missing from this that's on this is on the back. That's right. That is Earth, Dragon, the Polaris program, and Mars.
That's so cool.
So
that's cool, man.
Yeah, super cool. They were all great people.
What are the names on that?
It's not so Isaacson, Potter, Gillis, and
Poteet. Does it say Poteet?
Monin. Monin. Oh, sorry, Poteet. Yeah, Poteet. But I don't think those are exactly the people a couple of the people we worked with.
Okay.
So this is the part that chokes me up. So, man, I grew up on science fiction, and Arthur C. Clarke in 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Cliff Simak and Isaac Asimov, and those were my books when I was a kid. And like, okay, we're going to work with astronauts. They said this is the bridge to put people on Mars, and I almost started crying. I was just like, I'm playing some tiny part in a mission to Mars. Like, how is that even possible? How did I end up here?
That's amazing.
Rook was making so much fun of me because at the end, the 2 women came up to talk to me and, thanks for all the instruction. And I literally broke down. I had to put my sunglasses on. I'm like, I can't cry in front of women that I don't know very well, but I cannot believe I'm part of this project in some way. And I don't care that my part is tiny. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, so super cool.
So, like, what kind of things did y'all do? What did you teach them? What were they wanting to learn?
I mean, it was standard AFP. Getting you to A license, tracking, turns in both directions, fall rate control. The AFP program at Scout of Chicago is sort of I think an evolutionary next step from AFF, where like I went through AFF, and that's a 7-jump program, and I actually. My instructor didn't tell me, but combined 2 levels, so I finished in 6. So on jump 7, I'm going up in the plane by myself, and it was, I made it, but this program gets you from 0 to A license, and there's canopy control, and just a lot more involved.
Maybe we should talk about that. Maybe next episode or something, like really kind of dig into that and let people, because I don't know, I wouldn't know the difference. I mean, if you told me the difference, obviously I would understand, but I don't know anything about it really. So that might be fun to talk about sometime.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that's so cool. So was everybody, all the astronauts, were they all able to kind of do the stuff that they wanted to do and progress and get to the point where they were hoping to?
Well, they thought it was going to be a 2 4-day camp program to get them probably beyond 25. And then, sadly, one of the women landed hard on her first jump and sprained her ankle, and then was not able to continue jumping. And then everybody else kept going. She kind of stayed around moral support and hearing all the knowledge. And then the last jump, which was around jump 18 or 19 for everybody else, we did the point of their program with us is to simulate high stress environments and try and practice their responses. And so we tricked him a little bit, and we did a 5-5 hop and pop, and then on the next jump we said, okay, here you're going to do your challenge dive, which is like you're feeling like you're ready to graduate, and instead we simulated an engine out at 3.5. And so there were
without
3.
telling them?
Yeah, right.
And you
So
pretended like it was real?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, dude.
I mean, what else can we do to
That's
help
fantastic.
that, that idea? And so of the 3 of them, one of them was not fooled at all.
No.
Like the pitch of the engine change, he's like, "Oh, we're getting out early," and then I think he said, "Oh, what a mystery, we're at 3.5." But the other 2 people were kind of stressed out, so they didn't even hear that, and he was getting out last, so they thought, as to what they said on the ground, they thought we were having we did have an engine out, but it was planned. So the woman Sarah left first, and Melissa went with her, and then my guy was the fighter pilot guy, and I went out after him, and they both had good exits, kind of a clear and pull idea. And then the last guy, who wasn't fooled and was not stressed out, jumped out, rolled on his back, and pitched. And the canopy came out underneath his arm and kind of wrenched his shoulder, and so it was the last day. We were only going to do 1 or 2 more, and they said, you know what, let's just call it right there.
Yeah.
We got them close to 25, but they knew it was going to be a two session thing.
That's so y'all probably get back together with them sometime soon, do some more?
Yeah, they're not sure if they can squeeze it in before the launch. But what's funny to me is that they're ordering gear.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
Rick messaged us.
They caught the bug.
Yeah.
So when is the launch?
It was August, but I think hopefully I'm not saying anything out of turn, but I believe it got pushed to September.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So you want to try to play this game? We
We
were going to play with some audience members, but we don't have any audience
just us.
members. So we don't have to play with the paper, but it's I figured it might be easy. We could try it without the paper first and see. Did you watch that video I sent you? Okay, so
Oh, I'm sorry, I totally forgot.
no, that's fine. It's an easy game. So I'm gonna say, okay, 1, 2, 3, and we're both gonna say a word. Now the goal of the game is eventually we want to both say the same word. So now, I played this with my niece the other day, and the very first word, we both said the exact same word, just completely by accident, by chance. Like, I don't know, we just did. So we'll both say a word, and then we go off of that word. Like, then we're going to try to find a word that connects them, and get to the same word. Does it make sense, kind of?
It does make sense. I was a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
So normally what we would do, we'd play with teams. So we'd have people from the audience. We'd bring in 2 people. I would have one person would be with me, one person would be with you, and we'd see how many tries does it take y'all to get to the same word. So you might do it in 4 tries. Well, then we would try to do it, and of course we're going to be doing different words and see how quickly we can do it. Who can win each round?
So can I ask before we start, because I didn't watch the video,
Yeah.
am I just picking a word out of the ether, or is this
Yep.
like related somehow to skydiving? Or
No, we can say a category, but no, normally you just pick a word out of the ether, just a random word. And all right, you're gonna try it.
Okay.
You got your word.
Yeah, I used this word today, so I'm gonna use it here.
All right, so we're gonna say 1, 2, 3, and then we'll both say the word. All right, 1, 2, 3. Glasses.
Catharsis.
Oh my god. Okay.
You said
catharsis.
glasses.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
How long can we think about the connection?
We got to go right now. I got my word. And it's not. If they don't completely match up, like, it's okay. Your next jump, you just got to figure out something. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Sleep.
Clarity.
Okay.
What did you say?
Sleep. And you said clarity. Okay, so we got to figure out something that connects sleep and clarity. All right, you ready?
Not really. Clarity and sleep.
All right, here we go.
Oh god.
You made it too hard when you start off with catharsis, man. What are you doing?
Well, you said out of the ether.
Okay, you ready? Wait, what was your word a second ago? Clarity?
Clarity.
And I said sleep. All right, here we go. You ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Rest.
Resolution.
Oh man, so close. Rest, resolution. We're not doing very good. All right.
You'd think there'd be like a little egg timer here for 30 seconds. You got to come up with a connection. But I guess if we're live, you got to move it along.
Yeah, we got to go faster. All right, so resolution and rest.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I got it. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Peace.
End.
You said end?
Yeah. You said peace?
Yeah. Dude, we may have to start over. Peace.
Yeah, maybe, but I got a good one already.
Peace. End. You've got one?
Mm-hmm. But if you don't get it, it's taking us in the wrong direction.
Oh, come on. Peace. End. Dude, I can't even think of a word. Well, what are the words that we've said so far?
I have said catharsis, clarity, resolution, and end.
Yeah.
And you started with glasses, sleep, rest, and peace.
Okay.
And so we are on peace and end and
All
linking
right, I
those
got
two.
one.
Okay.
I'm ready. 1, 2, 3. Calm.
Treaty.
Treaty?
Fuck. Well, the end of a war and getting to peace is a treaty.
That's good. That's very good.
And you said calm?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to try one.
Calm and treaty. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Agreement.
Tranquil.
Dang it. All right, let's
Oh,
start
I got
over.
a good one, though. Agreement.
Let's start from scratch. Or you
What
want
would
to keep
your
going?
next one be? Just, yeah, let's do it. One more.
On this one?
Yeah.
What was it? Tranquil and calm?
Yeah. No. Tranquil and agreement.
Tranquil and agreement. Okay. I don't think we're going to say that. All right, sure. 1, 2, 3.
Accord.
I was going to say quiet.
Okay.
Your vocabulary is better than mine.
My subscription to Jugs magazine really paying off.
I got to step up my vocab game.
All right. We're going to try one
All
more?
right. Yeah, this time don't be so
All right.
esoteric.
I'm going to look around the room. All right, I got it.
You got one?
Yeah.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Surfboard.
Backpack.
Okay.
Surfboard?
Yeah. Ready?
Yeah, what's the word?
Backpack.
I got a
surfboard.
word.
What comes to mind? The next thing that comes to your mind.
Okay, go ahead.
1, 2, 3.
Travel.
Beach. What'd you say? Traffic?
Travel.
Travel. Okay, travel. I said beach.
Yeah, I got it.
Ready? 1,
Mhm.
2, 3. Sand.
Vacation.
Sand and vacation.
Okay.
Sand and vacation. What's the word? Okay, I got it. Sand and vacation. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Resort.
Daiquiri. What'd you say?
Resort.
Resort. Oh, I was thinking daiquiri because, like, you're sitting on the beach, vacation, sand.
Yeah.
You want a daiquiri.
It's
Resort. Okay, resort daiquiri. Come on, we got this one, dude. Come on. Resort and a daiquiri. The one thing that connects those two. Come on, we got this.
Okay.
Oh, I so desperately want to give a hint to what I'm thinking. You ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Relax.
Pool.
Ah.
You said relax?
Yeah.
I said pool. Okay, pool, relax.
Okay.
Okay, come on. The thing that connects these. Pool and
Okay.
relax.
I think
1, 2, 3.
so. Sunbathe.
Lounge chair. What'd you say?
Sunbathe.
Sunbathe. Dude, we're
Dang
terrible at this game.
Lounge chairs. Yeah. Now I'm.
Okay,
Go off.
lounge chair, sunbathe. We're gonna do it one more.
Okay.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Beach towel.
Sunscreen. Oh, I was gonna say towel. I thought about that. I actually was like, oh, I should say towel.
Whew. Wow.
All right. We'll have to try again another time. Maybe we'll do better with audience members.
We made 7 attempts on both and didn't get there.
That's pretty bad.
I'll have to think about that more. Okay.
Yeah, so we said we want to also talk about Canopy Traffic, smart canopy flying, maybe even Canopy Traffic in the pattern. You know, I don't know exactly what all you were thinking, but I thought that was a really good idea. So when you mentioned that topic, what was on your mind? What were you thinking about?
Well, I like to read parachutists, but in really limited quantities, and I kind of stick to. And there might be an article or two that I'm interested in, and I'll peruse that. And sadly, what I want to try to learn from is some of the incident reports. And so, no matter what else I look at in there, I'm gonna look at those, because if there's any, I don't know, tribute that we can pay to those people who are not with us anymore, it's to try not to do the same thing that they did. And so there was a discussion. I don't know if it was in an article or the incident reports, but it basically reminded me that USPA mandated that all USPA drop zones separate high performance from other landing areas, and we kind of have that at Skydive Chicago, but Rook has been reluctant to delineate it very strictly because there's so many people that have been coming there for 30 years that he doesn't want to alienate those people by saying you can't land here. And so there's much more impetus at Skydive Chicago that the high performance canopy people are very mindful of the interactions that could happen with people who are not on high performance canopies. So they have a jump number minimum on the north end and everyone else on the massive south end. So the north end is pretty constricted. But then I've been to other places, big drop zones that have their own version of that idea. But it came up when we were jumping with the astronauts, not because of we had our own plane, so our traffic was very easy. But in a little bit of discussion while we were watching other loads go on the drop zone of some of the things that people were doing under canopy that weren't necessarily what I would recommend. And so it just reminded me of some of the things that I work towards with the SNTA at Skydive Chicago, Anthony, to try to get smooth and cohesive canopy traffic. And so there's a variety of issues related to that. And I don't know if you just want me to kind of monologue about it, or if you want to throw in where your mind was at when I mentioned this topic.
Yeah, we could do both. Either. One question that I have is like, you can answer either one of these questions. You mentioned some things that you saw at the drop zone, or just not that they were terrible, horrible things, but it just caused it inspired conversation, I guess, and it brought up some questions and stuff like that. So if there's specific things that you saw, or what are some of the common canopy traffic, canopy flying things, mistakes that you see people making, or things that people are doing that it's just like, man, everybody needs to know this. How come nobody knows these things?
One of the things that I really try and talk about a lot at Skydive Chicago is when they have a taxiway in between the hangar and the main landing area, and that taxiway runs roughly north-south. And so when we're able to set the pattern right along that taxiway, it's pretty good, and people follow the first person down pretty well. If we have to land, say, arbitrarily northwest instead of straight north, in that pattern, I would bet both hands that we're going to get everything from north to west, and that really bothers me. And I try to communicate to people that, look, if the first person lands northwest, like a 300 heading, you need to be at maximum within 10 degrees of that heading, and that's the deviation you're allowed, and even that is a little bit frightening to me. And it's hard to impress upon people that if we're getting a 90-degree spread, that's potentially a fatality when those people meet. And if you hit somebody at 60 feet off the ground, man, it doesn't matter anymore who's right or wrong. Like, we're going to try and learn from your accident afterwards, but you are an incident report at that point. And if either one of you survive that impact, I'm going to be super impressed. And somehow yet every day at Skydive Chicago, where the people who are there genuinely care about the safety of the people that are jumping, I can't seem to impress upon people that you're watching the first person down. And what's even more interesting, I guess, in those moments is that when I'm watching it, it's because I just landed, and my team went exactly the same direction. 5 of us in a row that are going exactly the same way with almost no deviation at all. And then the other 18 people or 17 people are coming down, and you get this real wide variance in how they interpret our pattern. And not only that, but we're following the T to the letter. Like, if it's at 310, I'm trying to land 310, and I think I'm capable of that. So that would be if I could get everybody in the community to just kind of self-assess, like, how did I do on that one? And if I didn't go 310 or whatever it was, why didn't I? Am I not prioritizing my safety or the safety of that one other person that I might interact with?
What are when you talk to people, what are the excuses or the reasons that they give for not following the same heading?
There's a lot of times that people will say, I felt like I wasn't directly into the wind. And I almost think that's a kind of a tragic response. Like, number one, you need to learn how to land your canopy downwind and crosswind and into the wind. And I accept that downwind landings make people nervous, as they probably should, but you need to be learning that skill set for the moment that you can't land in the 60-acre landing area that we have, and you have to land in somebody's backyard next to a fence and a pool and a tree, and the only option you have is downwind in 20 miles an hour. And I mean, I understand that's an extreme example, but you're not, if you're using all of these jumps into this wide open area to I can only land directly into the wind, I'm arguing that you're missing the opportunity to save yourself when things are not perfect. And that scenario that I outlined, I have done that. In Skydive Sebastian, we get a bad spot, we're over the river, there's 1 yard you can land in on the north side, and there is a fence, and there's multiple trees, and there is a pool. I think there's a pool, and I could only go downwind. That or I landed in the river, which might have been safer, to be honest. But I guess that would probably be the biggest excuse.
That's the most common, you think? People saying, well,
Yeah.
I just felt like I
Wasn't
wasn't
into the
directly,
wind.
I was trying to get directly into the wind.
Yeah.
So it
And-
sounds like that in that excuse, that person is, for them, they're prioritizing, they think that it's more important to be directly into the wind than to potentially what? What is the bigger danger? I mean,
Well, I don't
think I
think
know
that-
what I think I know what the answer is, but I want to hear you say, like, why is that not the priority?
Because the canopy collision is a much bigger danger.
Training and practice, that's good, but
Sure.
Go ahead.
But people aren't dying from a slightly crosswind landing. If you intersect somebody on a 90-degree course difference at, pick an altitude.
Yeah.
I mean, you might survive that at 10 feet. But you bump that up to 20 or 30 or 40, and that suddenly becomes unsurvivable potentially. And if you do it at 100 feet, you're not going to make it. Like, even if the first guy is an idiot and he goes downwind, you're probably not going to die from a downwind landing. But if you decide to go into the wind in that moment and somebody else follows the pattern and you guys intersect, that's it.
Yeah. So really that's there may be other things, but that's the biggest thing on your mind is the potential for collision, right? Like if you
Yeah.
collide going the same direction, that's still not good under canopy right on landing, but it's much
Right.
better than, and really, I mean, for a lot of people, the way a lot of us are landing, the lower you are, the harder that collision is going to be. I
Yeah.
mean, as far as horizontal, because at least where I'm jumping, we're only allowed to do 90s in the main landing area, and then there is another landing area that's for high performance where you can do whatever.
Yeah.
So everybody in that landing area, the main landing area, is just coming straight in or doing a 90 or something like that. But you get down to 20 feet above the ground, 15 feet above the ground, a lot of these people are coming in with a pretty significant horizontal speed.
Yeah.
And if that's 90 degree, like T-bone, right? I mean, that's part of what you're saying, is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I'm on a 75. If I do a 90-degree turn, that's the difference between maybe 45 miles an hour as opposed to if I do a 450, maybe 65 miles an hour. And I mean, maybe that sounds like a lot, but if I hit somebody going 45, I'm in bad trouble.
Yeah, and then on top of that, if it is 30, 40, 60 feet off the ground, oh gosh.
Yeah.
So I think that's good to hear. It's good for me to hear. Hopefully, it's good for other people to hear. Like, yes, landing into the wind, directly into the wind, is ideal. But forcing the ideal is not always the safest move.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wish if I could translate that sentiment into anything, it would be that people are much more vigilant once they've done their controllability check or they've done their housekeeping, whatever, at 2,500 feet. They are eyes on, as much as they can, eyes on the landing area and seeing a consistent pattern and setting their bases so they can follow that pattern. I mean, that's the way that we can all be the safest. And it doesn't matter if you're doing a 450 or a 90 or whatever. If our final needs to be the same direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts or anything, like just canopy traffic in general, things that you have seen on a regular basis, or some things that you would like to address, common mistakes that people make immediately after opening, maybe even just flying to the holding area, flying, in any of that stuff? What are things that you see that you think people need to know?
I mean, the easy one to pick on, especially with newer jumpers, is just not to spiral. That hopefully at every DZ someone is getting out there. If they're seeing somebody make multiple revolutions on any size canopy, that needs to stop. And there are a host of reasons for that. I think maybe one good learning point is that within my team, we're all loaded very similarly, and we jump together quite a bit. So we develop a little bit of a pattern with, okay, this person is normally going first, and this person is normally going second. And as a for instance, I'd say 95% of our landings last year, Johnny Gunn was our camera flyer. He was first, and I was second, and Dusty was third, and Sam was fourth, and Steph was last. And that to a high percentage. However, even knowing that, I do my housekeeping and I'm in quarter breaks, at least checking off all of my teammates. Where is everybody? Are we clearly in that pattern? And if we're not, I am instantly attentive to the fact that I'm a little bit out of sequence here, because taking for granted that it's my space when it might not be my space. Like for instance, I used to get coaching from Pat McGowan years and years ago when I was still belly flying. If you remember who Pat is, he got into a canopy collision with another AFF instructor. They were the only two people in the sky.
Wow. And
they both went in. And I don't know. It was at Paris Valley. I wasn't there, and I don't know exactly the circumstances, but my strong hunch is that the person who got out first thought they had clear space, and the person who got out second somehow ended up underneath. And that shit happens all the time. Mm-hmm. So I think getting your housekeeping done and trying to check off the group that was in front of you, the group that was behind you, the people in your group, and at a slower speed, half breaks, quarter breaks, like slowing things down and having a good assessment of what the scenario is. And if we jump back to my team, like if we were out of sequence, my other teammates are doing the same thing. And like, for instance, Dusty almost always landed after me. If he's down below me, he's looking up at me, waiting for me to like kick a leg and say, no, you go, I see you, before he even starts to accelerate at full speed. So just a little bit stronger assessment of in your group and then the groups around you as far as what's going to happen for canopy traffic.
How important is it for any level of experienced jumper to be conscientious of the number of people on the load with them, and then counting those canopies in the sky and paying attention to that? How necessary is that?
Well, I think that people could really benefit from when we're loading the plane. We're in the loading area. It's the 10-minute call. It's the 5-minute call. Be in the practice of getting there early, and then just take a casual look around at people's backpacks. And if somebody that's jumping a 210 looks at my backpack, I'm not an issue for that guy. Or strange circumstances aside, he and I are really not going to interact. I'm gonna be on the ground. He's not even doing his housekeeping yet. But you can look at other people. Okay, that guy's kind of got a big canopy. That guy's kind of got a big canopy. Or for me, it's okay, who else is on a little pocket rocket? And those are the people that I need to be conscious of. What does their suit look like? What's their helmet look like? Some easy way that I can identify, oh yeah, that's that guy. Okay, I got him. And maybe you can even make a conscious effort of like, all right, there's 5 other people here that have canopies that look like they're around my size. I'm going to check them off when I get under canopy, because that's my traffic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. And then real quickly, can you talk about, spiraling down? Why is that? What's the problem with that?
Well, if we just start from the idea that everybody has a wing loading, and if we all open up at around the same altitude, which is of course a goal, anybody opening high, students, tandems, somebody that wants to pull at 5.5 or whatever, they're going to go towards the back of the plane. The rest of us are going to open around 3.5, 3,000 feet, something like that is pretty standard. There is just a very natural canopy progression that happens as far as our descent rate. And if everybody goes full flight, say, I know I just said quarter breaks and I do that, but arbitrarily, if we all go full flight, somebody that's on even a 90 is going to get to the ground 10, 15, 20 seconds after me. We do nothing else. We just fly a box pattern like we learned in AFF. So when you start doing things like multiple 360s, you are breaking that very natural landing pattern that could have happened, and you're injecting yourself into a situation that you probably don't want to be in. You lose spatial awareness super easy. You lose altitude awareness super easy. You can make yourself have vertigo that you didn't expect. It's very uncommon. Like, if you think back to AFF, everybody's going, okay, I'm going to look right and turn right, as you should. You're going to look down and left or down and right, wherever your pathway is going to be. After that first revolution, you don't know what is going on around you, and you have lost everybody. And that should be setting off alarm bells, but people get into that, well, I'm just going to bury a toggle and I'm going to have fun or whatever. I can't imagine a scenario that I would get out and want to spiral in the first place. But if there's any other canopies in the sky, I'm absolutely not doing that for at least that many reasons.
Okay, good. Thank you. You said something else made me think of a question. I don't remember.
I'll wait.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, any other thoughts on Canopy Traffic or younger jumpers? What are things that you?
We had a situation a couple years ago where a guy who wanted to be an organizer at Skydive Chicago came and he interacted with. Hopefully, I'm not outing her, but he interacted with a woman who's been around for a while, Sally. She's a belly flyer at our drop zone, and she's got 6,000 or 7,000 jumps over the 30 years she's been jumping there. Her and her husband Chuck are there all the time. They're just super good people. And this guy that wanted to be an organizer came, and Sally is going to turn to final, very similar to an AFF student. No attempt to add speed to her canopy. And this would-be organizer was chatting to her in the landing area, and she's in the 1,000 jump area, as she's totally acceptable to be, and he's kind of questioning her about her pattern, and she stopped him, and she's like, I want to land safe. I don't need to hear all this about your swoop. And I think it was, I mean, he's not going to be an organizer at the drop zone, but it was such an important thing for me to hear, just to recall that, like, your swoop has nothing to do with getting down safely, and you have no right to swoop at the drop zone, as I don't either. And I have gotten frustrated about things like that in the past, but I've kind of adopted the philosophy that I hope some other experienced people will get, that if I have somebody come to me and say, man, did I get in your way? Because sometimes people do say stuff like that, and be like, man, at my jump numbers, if I can't get around you safely, that's not your fault. And so I think that's an important thing for people who are kind of coming up in the sport. They want to have their high performance landings, and everybody else just wants to land safely, and that's an important thing to remember.
Yeah, that's good. And it's easy, I can think back to a time when I had a little bit of a scary landing, and I think back to first of all, the chain of events, right? Remember last time we talked about how it's multiple things that add up, and if you just break one of those things, but how, you get focused on you stop thinking about the priority of safety and doing it the right way, and you start, I was prioritizing landing close to the packing room or whatever, or wherever I wanted to. I was prioritizing, not landing, in the mud or wherever. I was prioritizing the wrong things, and thinking about, myself, or looking cool, or convenience, or whatever, all those things probably. And it's really easy to do. It's easy to prioritize those other things. Like, it's easy to prioritize getting a good swoop in, and then you get hurt.
Yeah. I mean, the worst would be that not even that you get hurt, but you end up hurting somebody else who makes an avoidance maneuver because of what you're focused on, which isn't safe canopy flying or getting everybody to the ground safely, but just and man, I like landing close to the hangar. I don't want to land in mud. I like swooping. I do think it looks cool, and I don't hate that part either. But if you lose track of what the real priority is as far as getting everybody's feet back on the ground safely, then that would be a hard pill to swallow if you cause somebody else harm.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question. This kind of putting you on the spot, but for we're talking about landing on the same heading that the first person sets. It doesn't matter if it's not perfectly directly into the wind, if it's a little bit crosswind or whatever. So for younger jumpers, less experienced jumpers out there, or maybe people who just aren't quite as confident under canopy, are there any tips or things that you could give? And maybe we need to wait and follow up with this next time, so you have some time to think about it. But making those crosswind landings, or those landings that aren't perfectly into the wind, what are some practical things that people can be doing to make those landings better and still safe. Because I know that's probably a little bit of the concern, you know, when you haven't done that. You know, I can remember the first time I landed downwind was because I was off. I landed off, and I was so nervous about landing off that I wasn't paying attention to the direction of the wind, and I landed downwind and just got, luckily it was grass and super tall grass, soft, and I didn't get hurt other than just getting all dirtied up. But it was as I came into land and I wasn't slowing down, it did get a little bit scary. I was like, oh no, what's happening, you know? So I get it that people are a little bit nervous or scared about those things.
Yeah. So the layup answer, the super easy one, is that everybody needs to get into Canopy course. And so Kurt and Jeannie come up to Sky of Chicago. There's a Flight 1 course that was available at Sky of Chicago. I don't know if it's still going to be. But a structured Canopy course from Hope, I don't want to denigrate anybody, but I would really love to see not the AFF instructor that's going to do a 4-hour course on one Saturday because he doesn't have any work that day, and instead taking a Brian Germain course, a Kurt and Jeannie course, Greg Windmiller course. Who am I missing?
Flight 1.
Flight 1, of course. You know, that those courses are structured over years of learning and practice and refinement, and they are going to put you in situations that are going to get you practice for those unknown circumstances that can come up in the future, so that your first time landing downwind is not when you're nervous and you're off the drop zone. You're going to do it in the course with video and instruction beforehand, and this is how you're going to handle it, and this is what you're going to do to your bases, and this is why you need to set up, and this is your body position, and you're going to get this structured way to go about this that's going to prepare you mentally and physically for those situations that are unexpected. And then you're not going into it blind, and you're not going into it nervous. And I'm not saying your heart rate won't be up, but I am saying that if life has any merit, it's practicing for what you might come up in the future, and those are a lot of unknowns. So that's the easy answer. If you can't do that, or you know, you don't want to pay for the course, which I would argue against heavily, but then you can go out and do hop and pops on light wind days. When you do have the skies, not maybe to yourself, but close enough that you can say, hey, there's one other hop and pop in this load. What are you doing? Are you going to swoop? Okay, cool. I'm gonna pull at 5 and just sit in brakes until I see you on the ground, because I want to practice going crosswind or downwind or whatever. And you don't have 21 other canopies in the sky with you, or whatever aircraft your DZ has. So that's sort of the cheap way to go about it, I guess. You can ask more experienced canopy pilots around the DZ, like, are there exercises that I can do on those hop and pops? But I would still argue that a structured canopy course is the way to go. And not only that, but you know, like if I pick on Flight 1 or Kurt and Jeannie's program, which is Alter Ego, they have, Kurt and Jeannie probably have 12 or 15 levels that can take you from you're in AFF right now, or you just graduated, to standing on the podium at the World Meet. And each of those levels is a progression, of course, but I would argue that even if you've taken a canopy course, get back, and even if you take the same one, you're going to be amazed at how much you forgot. And in the first course, you're probably going to be amazed too, like, how did I get this far without this stuff? So that'd be my big answer.
Yeah, what you just said about that exact thing happened to me. I took a canopy course with Jeannie, like, I don't know, 6 years ago, a long time ago. And I remember feeling like I learned so much. I know, I did. I learned a lot. And then it was, years later when then we got together with them and we filmed the course, the canopy piloting course for Crave. And so I'm sitting there while we're videoing, while we're filming the course, I'm sitting there listening to everything. And so much of it felt like new information. I was like, man, I learned so much from watching us film this course. And it was probably a lot of the stuff was probably what they went over in the course I took, 6 years ago or whatever. But there's so much you can't take it all in, or you forget or whatever. And that's another thing. I mean, that's one thing that I hope people are benefiting from with Crave and the course that we're doing, is that they can go back and watch the courses over and over and over. And I've had quite a few people tell me that they're doing that, and that they really appreciate that and enjoy that aspect of the content, that they can revisit it over and over again. And I'm really excited about that.
It's such a benefit to be able to do that, and especially like I'm going over, as you said, our course is going to go. What it really needs is me to finish the review, sorry, Sharon, I'll get on it. But in reviewing it, I even all that information is very comfortable to me, and just thinking about somebody ingesting all of that, it's drinking from a fire hose, and I'm watching 6 modules in a night or 7 modules in a night. It's so much information, and obviously there's a lot more that we could talk about, but the ability to watch the information, see the video, watch the mechanics of what we're doing, go try it, come back and watch it again after the experience of you actually trying it, where the things that we said that were maybe kind of fuzzy are now crystal clear because you tried it yourself. And just the repetitive nature of that access to the information is super nice. And I know that it's slow growing right now, but I'm really hoping it's going to explode. With there's nothing else like it, and unless, I mean, what you're charging is insanely cheap, in my opinion, considering that one day of my coaching is $400.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Pitch.
It's a good plug.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, all right. We don't have any audience members, so we're gonna do like a little Q&A or the videos, but we're gonna end with a puzzler. All right. So here's a puzzler. This right here, you see that, JRuss?
We do.
And for the audience members, if anybody actually ever watches this video, the puzzler is figure out how to draw this exact image without picking your marker up off the paper. Now don't say you gotta, because next week I'll reveal the answer. But if you're watching this and you can figure it out, if you want to send your answer in, we're going to try to come up with a prize for people. And the email you can send your answer to, you just have to either you could do a short video of you doing it, or a short explanation, written explanation of how to do it. You can send it to puzzler@cravetofly.com. If you send your answer, we'll pick one of those correct answers at random, and that person will win a prize. A super awesome, amazing prize. We don't know what it is though. Maybe a t-shirt or something. All right, so there it is. You see it? Do you have any idea? Don't say.
I mean, something came to mind, but I don't know if it's true. So.
Okay, so you have to. How can you draw that without picking up your marker or pen off the paper? It can be done. All right, well, you've done it again. You've wasted another perfectly good hour hanging out with us here at Crave. It's me and JRuss, Chris Fikes and Jason Russell. I had fun.
Yeah, man.
All right, Jason, thanks, man. And we'll see everybody next time. Until then, blue skies, do more, be better.
Absolutely. See you guys.
Bye.